Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we'll be learning about CSS display property. So the display property is how elements are displayed within our website. So let me go to my studio code. I'll be using the internal styling. I'll just put my style sheet here. Good. Also put my body here. This is my body. Mind you, this code is still going to run because I'm just using the internal style sheet, and this code has the extension HTML, so this will be displayed as an HTML file. Normally I'm meant to put my boilerplate, generate my boilerplate which contains the head and the body section. You can still do it. So let me create my h1, sorry, h1 CSS display. So I've already written CSS display, and let me create my unordered list. The first item will be the inline. Also provide another one called the block. The third one will be the inline block, while the fourth value will be none. So I've opened my preview side by side. So this is the preview. HTML elements comes with different value. Basically, they come with two values, the inline and the block. So inline elements includes element like anchor tag. Let's write anchor tag here. Anchor tag. Let me write about. Good. I've written about. Another element could be button. Button is another form of inline elements. Let me put the heading here. H2. I want this thing to be loading as I'm doing this. H2. Let's provide the value of good H2 types of in, inline elements. Mind you, these values are default by nature. Inline elements. Example, we anchor tag, button, even image is also another form of inline element. And somebody will be asking, what is inline element? Inline elements are elements that occupies or takes space that they actually require. Let me explain it further. So inline elements, let me open this in a full browser so that we see how it is. Copy, open it, provide the info result. Good. So there's a tool called pesticide. So good. So inline naturally, and the default value of some element varies. Block elements occupy the complete width of the screen. They don't share. So it won't allow you to put another element here. Mind you, the other this list item I also created are also a good example of the block element because they occupy the complete width of the website. This H2 is also an example of block element that occupies the complete width. Why this anchor tag and this button, they are good example of the inline element. That means that they only occupy what they only require. The width that is required, that's what they just occupy. And they allow other elements to stay beside them. Unlike the block does not enable any other element to stay beside them. And why would we want this kind of property? For example, when you're creating your hero section, the hero section has to do with the main body of your website. Like when you're writing your H1, your H2, your H3, your H4 to your H6. And your paragraph text also, they are all block elements. Mind you, you may write some inline element by default, which I've already mentioned these ones, like the anchor tag and the button. They are inline because they only occupy the space that is just required for them. They allow other elements to stay side by side with them. Let's make example of that, and we've already done this example. So we said we have four values. We have the inline part of the display property. We have the inline. We have the block. We also have the one called the inline block. So the inline block is a combination of both. So how do we do this? Let's just do something here. So I'm done with this explanation. Or let me just push it a little bit down. So let's create a div. I've created a div here. I want to create two divs or three divs. Let's make three divs. Mm, I created three divs. In fact, I don't need to even space them out like this. Let me just delete this. I wanted to put content inside them, but I feel there's no need. No need to put content inside them. Remember, avoid white spacing as much as possible. White spacing is all this space in between your tags. So let me provide a class name, or class name is the same thing as attribute. Let's call this one top. We can give this one an attribute of middle, which is fine. And remember, we are using the internal style sheet. Just put the internal style sheet should be inside the head section. So just provide the style. Then the div, we target the div. We want we could have target we just okay we want to give it a width of 200 pixel. I want to give it an height of same height of 200 pixel. Good. But now remember what I said, div is actually an invisible container. We use it to group our HTML element, what we want to display on our screen. We used to separate them, but on its own you won't see it like this until when I decide to do this. So for the first div, I can target it with the class name top. Remember, you use the dot when you are referring to your class. I can give it a background color of blue. So I've given it a background color of blue. You can see now blue has appeared here. So The second one is middle right. So let me give it a background color of a background color of brown. Refresh. You can see that it is arranged like this. So this is the default setting of HTML element from top to bottom. So this is actually a block. Mind you, there is actually space here, but its default position is block. So because it's block, when you say something is default position, you don't need to put any value. Once you don't add any this, once you don't write any property on it, it will result to its default position, which is block. You can see how it is displayed here. But now we can change the CSS property, the display property. We can make it an inline. Inline property is a combination of both the inline block is a combination of both the inline and the block element. Like for the block element, we can increase the size, we can increase the width, but for the inline, we cannot really increase it. But now we are starting with the block. Look at how the block is, right? Good. You can see that we could change the size, we could change some things are that are important to it. But now we can, this is the default setting, but now we can add some other things to it. Now, for example, this one, all of them are div, right? So let's just make them, let's provide a property called display, and give it a value of inline block. Inline block. Good. We have given it the value of inline block. Let's refresh and see what happens. Wow. So it's arranged side by side. So inline block, that means it will only occupy as much content as it needs. If it does not require that much content, it will just be like that. Now let's look at example of, target our this other image. We use button, right? Let's provide a value for this button. I think if you scroll down, you can see button here. Yeah, now let me give it a name of click me. Click me. I've given the name of click me. Let me refresh. You can see now, click me. It has appeared. So you see that I can as well write many button. I can as well write many buttons, create many buttons. I've written many buttons and I will refresh. You can see what is going on here. They are being displayed. They are being displayed side by side, even without me changing the the property, because this one is actually inline in nature. That means that it just take as much content that it needs. If it does not need much, and how will I know the as much content that is needed? Because the content will be determined by the paragraph or by what you write here. The inner HTML that is written here, click me. If as well as provided a different value of this, of let me just be one, and let me refresh. You can see this one. It just has a value of 1. It just has a value of 1, irrespective of what I've written. So I'm trying to open it again. I don't, it's writing some content is not important to us. Let me use the second one. Good. Connecting to good. You can see it's just writing this. So let's target the button. Target the button. So I've targeted the button element. And let me provide a width. Let's provide also this value that we wrote here. Height and this. I've cut it and I placed it here. Good. You can see what just happened now. As I provided the value for it, I've increased the width and the height size of just this button because I created them, but I think this is too much anyway. Let me reduce it. So by default, different element comes with display property on them, but some may come with block, while some may come with inline. But we can also add value to it by providing it a different property name, like what we did here. This is actually a click. You can see how it is. So why none is also a value. None means that nothing is there. For example, let me just change this one to none. None. So let's go back and see how it is. We've provided the value of none. You will see what happened. We didn't see it again. That means that we don't want any display at all. So it's left the it left it. We cannot even see it on the screen at all. Let me comment it out. So I've commented it out and let me have refreshed. You can see how it is. So let me apply it back again and refresh again. You can see it's completely went out of the screen. So like a recap of what we just learned about CSS display property, we said we have the inline, some HTML element comes with their own different values. Some can be inline in nature, while some can be block in nature. And we can also create or we can also enforce some CSS property like the inline block in order to change the default setting. And for example, we said div, we made mention of paragraph, we made mention of the H1 to the H6, we made mention of other HTML elements that are blocked, and we made mention of some that are also inline, like the button, like the anchor tag, and the rest. So we have various different HTML elements. Some of them have comes with default value for the display, but we can as well create or enforce some certain display property like the display inline block and none, especially when you are trying to do some JavaScript and some other things. So that will be all for this video. Please, if you find this video educative, please subscribe, hit the subscribe button below so that you'll get notified when next I upload new video. Thank you.